Before the president made his way home to Chicago, he made one final campaign stop where his journey to the Oval Office began, Iowa.
Iowa, I'm not ready to give up on the fight. I've got a lot more fight left in me. But to wage that fight on behalf of American families, I need you to still have some fight in you, too.
And joining me now from Chicago, Robert Gibbs, senior advisor to the Obama campaign, the president's former press secretary. And Robert, I think you were with them last night in Iowa and again today in Chicago. So tell me about the emotion, because we saw the tier. There was even a Twitter account that was started on Obama's tier, the president's tier. He did seem very emotional, as did the First Lady last night.
No, I was backstage with him right before he went out, and you could tell he was soaking it all in and understanding this was the last event he was going to do. It was in the state that sort of began it for him in very early 2008. So I know it was an emotional journey yesterday. It culminated in Iowa. We had a terrific crowd. You could feel the energy, the excitement, and I think you saw the passion in what the president was talking about yesterday in terms of finishing the job that he was elected to do, and we think we're going to have a good night and be able to do that for the next 4 years.
Mark Halperin was just reporting on the supreme confidence of your colleagues and former colleagues there, and we know that this is a close race. That's what all the polling tells us. That's what we pick up anecdotally. Why so much confidence? Is it because of the organization that was built? Those are computer models. That doesn't really involve, real people and the emotions of people who decide to vote or not to vote on Election Day.
Well, I would say a couple things. First, if we look at our early vote numbers, I was in Ohio yesterday for our second of 3 stops. Talking to our state director, they felt really great about where they were. And they were telling the president how the Republicans were bragging in Ohio that they'd spent Sunday knocking on 75,000 doors. The state director told the president that we knocked on 375,000 doors. So, yeah, we feel pretty good about our operation. We feel pretty good about our early vote. Look, I think this race, for all of the public polling, has been remarkably steady for the last 3 or 4 weeks. And the president has had a steady lead in almost all, if not all, of these 9 battleground states. Look, I think if you're the Romney campaign, Andrew, you wake up today and there's not one of those 9 in the battleground states that you can say with 100% certainty they're going to win today. So, look, I think they've got a much harder path. I think we feel confident because the president has had a strong message about what we're going to do over the course of the next 4 years, a great ground operation, and a lot of people that have been working tirelessly just for today.
If you all are that confident, why send Bill Clinton back to Pennsylvania? 4 stops in Pennsylvania, including 2 in Philadelphia last night.
Well, Andrea, President Clinton has been a wonderful campaigner for this president. We owe him a huge debt of gratitude. But look, if they're going to put resources in Pennsylvania, we'll match their resources in Pennsylvania just to make sure that we're doing fine in Pennsylvania. I feel supremely confident about Pennsylvania. I can assure David Axelrod, as I did this morning, right before he did Morning Joe, that you'll be able to hold on to that mustache for another 40 years if you want to. We feel good about where we are. And look, I will say one thing to anybody that's listening to this. You're hearing stories about long lines. You're hearing stories about big turnout. Go get in that line. If you're in that line when the polls close, you'll be allowed to vote. So go get in that line. Go exercise your right to vote. Make your voice heard in a crucial election.
How is the president feeling about it all today? You were with him when I think he was doing some interviews, some satellite interviews with affiliates, local stations around the country.
He feels good. He feels relaxed. He started his morning at 7:30 with a conference call with FEMA on Hurricane Sandy. He taped a bunch of radio calls yesterday, did Tom Joyner this morning, 10 satellite interviews this afternoon, and we didn't want to tell him this on the plane, but he's going back to do some satellite this afternoon. Between that, playing some basketball. So he's busy, but he's relaxed. I think he feels like he's in a good place. We have made the case in this race for building this economy from the middle out, moving this economy forward, and juxtapose that with Mitt Romney's theory of extending tax breaks to the wealthy as a way of building our economy. And we know what happened the last time we did that. It ended in economic devastation. So I think we've got a strong case that we're making today on Election Day.
And finally, Robert, If the president is fortunate enough to be reelected, what do you think his first priorities are, especially since most likely if he is reelected, it's going to be a status quo, potentially a Democratic Senate still, but most certainly a heavily partisan and Republican House?
Right. Well, look, I think first and foremost, everybody understands the fiscal cliff issues that we have to deal with over the course of the 70 days after the election, that all the Bush tax rates are expiring, that we have sequestration cuts that we're looking at. And I will say this, this election, when the president's reelected, should break this fever of Washington gridlock. It is time that Republicans come to the table and understand that we've got to get something done on the big pressing issues of our time. They can no longer just say no, no, no. It's time to come and work with this president and get something done on behalf of the American people to make sure our country's safe, strong, and secure.
Robert Gibbs, thank you so much for taking time on Election Day. Good luck to you and your campaign today.